that they can inform themselves going forward. Let's say if I'm studying this subject this way, going forward I should change. If it is that candidates are unable to answer questions in maybe the application area of the examination, teachers will have to reinforce that area in their internal assessment so as to bring the candidates up to speed on what is expected of them in the examination.
Okay, let's talk about absenteeism as well. You realize that the number for this year seems to have improved over last year. What's accounting for that, and why even are students still absenting themselves?
Well, that's a very difficult thing to talk about, because they assign a number of reasons for absenteeism. One of the basic ones is as a result of illness. We've also had situations where some are pregnant, especially with the girls, and so they are unable to come and write the examination. There's no inhibition. If you are pregnant, you still have the opportunity to come and write, and so it is a choice on the part of the candidates. Basically, these are the two that we have, formal information about. Okay. The rest of them is really difficult to tell unless we have the districts report to us the reasons for which they have this large number of absentees in their districts.
I know you still have issues of schools or centers in rural places, hard to reach areas where you have to use boats and all of that. How is the situation looking like now?
A couple of years ago, we had to resort to the drone system to reach some of the hard-to-reach areas, because as a result of rain, some of the roads were cut off, and it worked for us for about 2 years. But fortunately, this year we did not have to do so because...
You mean the drone sending materials?
Yes, sending examination materials to the examination centers. Right. So it worked very well for us in those years. This year, fortunately for us, we did not have to resort to that because all the areas were more trouble. What we usually do is that you assess the candidature in a particular area, and if we realize the number of candidates within the area and the feasibility of opening what we call an examination depot, all right, then we'll establish a depot there where we will send staff who would keep custody of the questions so as to shorten the travel time from the examination depot to the examination centers.
Let's come back to this issue of malpractice. Why would invigilators risk still engaging in malpractice? What's the driving factor?
Well, we haven't done a scientific study into it, but information we receive indicates that I think the basic motivation for that is monetary. Yeah, because a lot of anonymous people send information to us indicating centers where school authorities are charging certain amounts of money to provide assistance to the candidates in the examination halls. In some areas, we are told that they would charge a higher amount for a core paper and a lower amount for the elective papers.
Wow.
For BECE, they would usually, I'm told, again, some of these we haven't had concrete evidence, but people send reports to us that as candidates walk in, they are supposed to pay a token of 20 Ghana cedis. Some are paying 10, others are taking
20 per candidate.
20 per candidate. Others are taking as low as 5 Ghana cedis to assist them in the examination hall.
And does this mean that all the vigilators on at that place, that center, are complicit, or is just one of the invigilators that's doing this?
Now, again, it is difficult to tell whether everybody is benefiting. But then what we get, I mean, what I'm talking about is information that people give to us, and these are anonymous people.
Okay.
And sometimes we increase our monitoring in those areas. There was one place where, I think 2 years ago, we arrested a teacher who was actually going around the room finding out who had paid and who hadn't paid in this era of free education. So quickly he was picked up and he had to answer questions. A number of heads of school have been summoned to the Ghana Education Service to answer questions on suspicion that they are collecting monies. So this year we sent out a notice to all heads of school because the number of anonymous letters and calls were coming. In fact, it was increasing. And so we sent a general letter to all heads of school asking that if indeed it is something that they are doing, they should desist from it, because if our investigations indicate that indeed that is what they are doing, then we would have no option than to report them to the Ghana Education Service and of course to the police, so that action can be taken against them.
Let's break it down. When we say malpractice, do we mean what is known in local parlance as APO, results to the questions that have been set by WAEC, or assistance by invigilators, to answer the questions, essay questions, random questions?
To break it down, first of all, we've had years where there were leakages. We would call it compromise. Because the questions are supposed to be open as the candidates are seated. So, well, fortunately for us, we put in place a lot of measures, and that has become a thing of the past. Now, the number of the types of examination malpractice we record these days are basically collusion, where you'd have, normally if they are using an examination hall, you can have hundreds of candidates accommodated in that hall, conducive enough for examination purposes. Right. Where they don't have these, they use classrooms. Now, so in a class of about 30, you have virtually all the candidates writing the same thing. Where there are spelling mistakes, they are all making the same spelling mistakes. Where there are misrepresentations, all of them are doing the same misrepresentation.
You mean copying from the material?
Yes, okay. So this simply gives an indication that something has happened. Either somebody brought in material to them to copy from, or in some cases we've come across teachers writing on the board for the candidates to copy. Yes, these people have been picked up, and we've reported them to the Ghana Education Service. Now, so that's one aspect of it. Then also we have candidates sneaking with mobile phones. This is one big area that we are fighting. There have been questions as to why we would cancel the entire results of candidates with the use of mobile phones, but these are things that we've told them that if you do, you would have your entire results cancelled. So if you are a well-meaning candidate, I don't think that there's any motivation for you to want to go into the examination hall with a mobile phone. Then they have prepared notes on their own. When we were at the university, we had what we call inkete. You have a piece of paper, a strip of paper that you put in some few points that you do your quick revision. Yes. So sometimes we have them. Others are even able to sneak in with these small pocket revision books.
But they're searched before they enter the hall.
That is ideal. That's what they're supposed to do. And they tell us, yes, we searched them, but sometimes you go in there, they have a mobile phone, they have this, little booklet on them, they have prepared notes on them. So,
and in that case, if the invigilator is not complacent, what happens? The student that gets to be disciplined?
Now, it is a dicey issue when it comes to, especially those items that they conceal on themselves. When it comes to the female students, they have all manner of ways of concealing. My apologies for that. Then also, there was an incident where we had a boy who had bandaged the whole head, and he had a hood on it. And of course, once you see him at the initial stages, you feel pity for him.
Right.
But upon second thought, it looked as if at a point you would notice from his facial expression that he's trying to listen to something. And when the bandage was removed, it was a phone he had concealed.
Wow.
There was a situation where...
You go to that length.
Yeah, a candidate had a bandage on the arm. Beneath the bandage was a piece of paper on which he had material he wanted to copy from. Another one, there was a girl who had a bandage around the head, and in that bandage was a piece of paper that she had material on. So there are a lot of ways by which these students try to cheat.
Wow.
And so it takes a lot of vigilance, to discover these things on the candidates in the course of the examination.
Okay. What do you think that orientation is lacking before these candidates get to that part, that apex where they are going to take the exams, about cheating, collusion, and all of that?
Well, on our part, we have what we call sensitization. We do that for examination candidates before they go into write. For BECE, we would normally bring them in clusters because there are quite many. We bring them in clusters, and then we do what we call sensitization. There we tell them what they can do, what they cannot do under examination conditions. We also have posters. We have leaflets that we give out to candidates. We paste them on school notice boards on vantage areas where candidates can read on their own. In some of the cases, we've had also some media engagements where we have discussed these things at length in order that everybody, candidates, teachers, parents, will get to know what is allowed and what is not allowed under examination conditions. So on our part, this is what we do. I think that on the part of schools, on the part of teachers, there should be a way by which we psych up our candidates for examinations. For a lot of the people, I happen to enjoy Catholic education when I went to secondary school. And before examinations, you are told what you can do, what you cannot do. And in a way, the teachers are talking to you about examination not being a do and die affair. It is something that you have gone through. I did the O and A level system, so you've done 5 years of O-level, so you are going to write your O-level exams. What you are going to write is what you have been learning over this period, and so you go in there convinced that you are going to meet something that you are conversant with. So I believe that if our counselors in the schools, if our teachers would do same for the candidates, I believe it will go a long way to give them that conviction that they can go out there, do independent work, and score grades that are meaningful, and they can continue with their education.
Are there variations of how the malpractices are done with regards to the kind of schooling system? Because you mentioned the Catholic education, the orientation of some of these schools. Now, private, public.
Yeah, okay. So Catholic private school, that is what I enjoyed. My children have gone through Catholic private education also. Okay. What I've realized is that in that particular school, at the beginning of the year, when you see their school calendar, there's a portion for weak candidates. Where the schools would organize a session for the weak candidates, find out what their problems are, and if there's any remedial measure that can be introduced to get them, to catch up with their colleagues.
Okay.
They make time, they make provision for these people so that, when they don't feel left behind, so that helps a lot in making the teachers themselves and even the students get to know where there are lapses in their own performance. And sometimes it's probably as a result of maybe lack of self-motivation. One, sometimes it's just fear. For example, I was an art student and mathematics was a no-go area. So for people who have this phobia for certain subjects, there's a need for you to have that interaction with them so that you talk them out of that fear to get them to appreciate whatever it is that they are being taught. Okay. So in these private schools, a lot of them have these sessions.
Proper assessment.
Exactly. And that has helped them to a large extent to get everybody on board and then to ensure that they are performing at that level.
And is it the elephant in the room? Why is that not the case with the public schools and the other kind of schools?
That would be a difficult question for me to answer, but I believe that if provision is made, even if it is a general thing that is done twice a term, thrice a term, just have a forum where you would, address the students, talk about a variety of, subjects. You can even bring in people from outside that they see as role models. These can come and address the candidate. You don't need to have a whole day or a whole week's activity. You can have just about an hour or two, and then they have the opportunity to ask questions. We've been around this country for some stakeholder engagement, and sometimes after we've spoken to students, when you are done with the forum, those who are unable to ask questions in public come to you personally. So you could stand by your car for 30 to 40 minutes trying to address individual, problems. And you realize that these are things that could easily be, addressed if time is made for these candidates in the course of their study period.
And parents as well, when do they come in to helping with assessing the average nature of their child, or whether their child is smart, an A student,
It's important for every parent to know their children. The children come in different ability levels. There are some who are slow learners. There are some who are quick to pick up. There are others also who simply have a laissez-faire attitude, but when they sit down to learn, they can do it. Now, so it is important for us to know the different kinds of children that we have. It is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing where, all children must pass, or all children must be able to must be proficient in this area or that area. We have our various strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
So parents should have conversations with their children. For example, when they come home with their terminal reports, you probably will sit down. Well, maybe not all parents are educated to be able to do this, but if you find somebody who understands what education is and could sit down with these children and have these discussions with them. For example, I will sit down with the children and ask them, yes, okay, so this and that, what happened here, what happened there. Sometimes they tell you, well, I don't like this. No, for me that is not an answer.
Okay.
You cannot tell me you don't like it, okay? So, well, why don't you like it? So, in that conversation, you get to know maybe there's a phobia somewhere, maybe there's a misconception somewhere.
Right.
So, once you get in touch with the children or you get to know them very well, that gives you the opportunity to, motivate them, to give them reinforcements in areas where they have difficulties.
Absolutely. Are there cases where parents are complicit in some of these malpractices?
Absolutely, yes,
okay.
they are.
Tell us about that.
Because, for example, if you go to the basic level, I know there are some of the candidates who are taking care of themselves, and so they may not necessarily be under parental care, but about 90% or even more of the candidates we have for BECE in particular are under parental care. So anybody under parental care, of course, would resort to their parents for the kind of things that they have on them and what they use. So if, as a parent, your ward comes and tells you, I've been asked to come and pay 100 cedis, 200 Ghana cedis, you have to find out, why are you going to pay this? Because I know I'm not supposed to pay any examination fee. And it doesn't take too much for you. For example, the basic schools are day schools, and so they work from home to school every day. As a parent, you can go to the school and find out, why do I have to pay this for my ward? And if they tell you it's for purposes of assisting them, there you simply will have to stop it. You also would have to speak with your children about what they are supposed to go and do there, and tell them, hey, this is not done, that is not done.
Right.
There was a time we had a difficulty where we observed a parent come to call their ward outside just before the commencement of the examination. Whatever conversation they had, I don't know. And I know there are some parents who subscribe to these rogue websites that are, parading questions.
Absolutely.
And so obviously parents are complicit in some of these aspects of irregularities.
Well, it's a hydra-headed situation.
Absolutely.
When you look at all of this, a technological advancement, I want you to talk on punishment or malpractice just before we move to WAEC accountability, technological advancement, what you're doing. What is the stiffest punishment for your men and women on the grounds when they engage in some of these things?
Dismissal. You can be dismissed if investigations indicate that you are complicit in some of the things that have happened. There are times also that some people have suffered demotion. I've observed some people suffer demotion because of certain acts of theirs that affected the job that we do.
Is this something that's been noticed over a period of time or a one-off situation?
It could simply be. Now, let me give this example. When marking is going on, you don't toy with the candidate script. That can cost you your job. Because in our system, the candidate script is like gold. Because that is what would determine where they go from wherever they are at that particular moment. And so we take serious consideration when it comes to handling examination material in particular. And in your communication, you have to ensure that you are communicating just what has to be communicated. There's a lot of confidentiality that we are supposed to observe, when we are, doing this kind of job. So if you are somebody who is not able to keep your mouth shut when you are given responsibility for something, you suffer the consequence. There we have our code of conduct, and each year we are reminded to go back and read the White Bible, which is the code of
the White Bible.
Yeah, so everybody, it doesn't matter what level you are in. Once you are found complicit, you could suffer some consequences.
Are they taking through any form of training as and when on the White Bible, and then ensuring that they stick to their principles of WAEC?
When you are engaged at the beginning, we have what we call our induction course. It's a whole week's program where you are told why you are there, what you can do, what you cannot do. You are made to swear an oath of secrecy. Okay, so you have to observe all of these things at the beginning of your tenure.
Does this include the invigilators? Sorry to cut you.
No, the invigilators are not full-time staff of the council, and so they are not necessarily compelled. This year, there's a bit of an innovation where we've asked that, because over the years what we realize is that the candidates who are found culpable are the ones that we punish. But then the candidate on their own cannot simply go and engage in any form of malpractice. So through the Ghana Education Service, we've asked the heads of school, supervisors, and invigilators, sign a kind of undertaking so that if anything goes wrong, they are held collectively liable.
Okay.
So that's what we do for the candidate, for the supervisors and invigilators and heads of school for this year.
So the other watchdog for the invigilators are the supervisors and then the heads of the schools. Okay, let's talk about motivation for your staff who work on this, the invigilators as well. How much you pay them?
Well, I would say would not pay a salary or a wage per se to invigilators and supervisors. The job that we do in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service. Each of us has a role to play, and the role we play is to look for the examination items or the questions. We moderate them, we compile them, we print, and then we take it out there for the candidates to write the exam. Now, the part that we expect the GES to play is simply to invigilate and supervise these candidates. The Ghana Education Service has indicated that invigilation and supervision is an extension of the job they do in the classroom. So what we do is like some kind of refreshment that we provide for them in the course of the job that they do for us. So I wouldn't say that we pay them a salary or a wage for that matter.
Okay, what does a refreshment look like, if you can tell us?
I do not have the figures in front of me. I don't usually deal with those aspects. If there was anybody from finance, they probably would have been able to
okay. How about GES? Does GES give them anything to back them up?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know.
But
I don't say an outright no because I'm not sure.
But you've heard the sentiments that they are undermotivated.
That is the stories that we have heard over the period. We have heard stories about going to stand there for 2-3 hours. You see, I believe that, well, yes, they've complained about not being motivated enough. But then the point about it is the perception out there is that WAEC has loads of money hiding somewhere, and we are giving a pittance for people. No, WAEC
you're a West African body.
Yes, we are a West African body. Let me explain this. The West African body has its headquarters. They are, when you go to Gulf House, behind Gulf House, Open Glow, we have the headquarters there. The registrar and his staff are there. Then we have the national offices. So what you have at Ridge is a national office for Accra or Ghana. Okay. Now, what we do is that because we are non-profit making, our major source of income is examination fees. And so if, for example, for BECE, you are charging 274 Ghana cedis per candidate, that is what you get. Periodically we get some subvention from the government, and then when candidates come to do their confirmation and other things, you charge a little for internet and all of that. So it is not as if WAEC has loads of money and we are being stingy, we are refusing to pay anybody. Working in collaboration with the GES, if, for example, the GES are told us, fine, we want you now to begin to pay a salary of a sort to our invigilators, then that can be refactored into the examination fee. So that means that if we are going to pay more, we increase the examination fee. That is the only source of income that we have.
And so from all that you're gathering, isn't it the right time for you to have the conversation with GS about the motivation?
This issue has come up. I wouldn't say there has been a formal discussion on the issue, but it is something that has been, making the rounds. People have spoken about it. And for us, we have that interaction or that collaboration with GS, have the headmasters, head teachers and teachers in the field. Why doesn't have authority over teachers? We don't.
Right.
So if the GS, for example, would hold a discussion with their people and say, going forward, this is what we want done for our teachers, then fine. When we sit down at our budget meeting, we'd also decide that in that case, we increase examination fee up to this point and pay, let me use the word meaningful for want of a better expression, allowance or salary for that matter, for the teachers to do a good job for us.
Okay, I was going to think you're going to appeal to government and other partners as well to support WAEC, since, you say you're also financially constrained.
Well, we can appeal to the government, but of course we can only reach the government through the Ghana Education Service.
Absolutely.
I keep mentioning GS, of course, because
yes.
they are the technical wing of the ministry, and so they are the ones that we speak with first.
Okay, I want us to wrap up on WAEC, accountability, CCTV cameras, monitoring, technological advancements that you're deploying or employing for your work.
So to begin with, we are gradually working towards going into CBT, computer-based testing. It's a big project. It is capital intensive because you'd have to have equipment. You'd also have to have internet connectivity across the country so that the candidates will be able to access the questions. Once you press a button from Accra here, it goes around everywhere.
Oh, you mean so it's behind a computer and answer
instead of sitting down and writing. So you have your computer before you, and then you are, sitting down to write. So we want to pilot that with one of our small examinations, the general business certificate examination and the advanced business certificate examination. These are two small examinations that we run, and so we're going to pilot this CBT within these examinations and see how feasible it is. For now, we're going to have that in the regional capitals. Okay. And when it comes out that it is something that can be adapted across the country, we go ahead and do it. But of course, in doing that, we would need a lot of partnership because WAEC alone is not financially sound enough to be able to support that project.
Absolutely. Looking ahead, what would you say finally are the reforms that collectively in the education space, the stakeholders should be able to, sit down, mediate, talk about, and implement to be able to have the standard kind of examination system and test system for our students?
So we'd have to improve upon internal assessment because some of the things that happen with our end of period assessment when they are writing the WAS, the BECE, is because they think that's a do and die affair. I have to score this percentage before. Now, if we have credible internal assessment, that is being introduced into the new curriculum for the senior high school. We are piloting with a number of schools across the country.
Okay.
Now, so these internal assessments, they do one. Let's say if you have one assessment after 3 weeks of study, they upload the marks and that comes to us straight away. Okay. If the test is done over a number of days, you are given a period within which to mark and upload the marks. So once the marks come, they are secured in our system.
Right.
At the end of the term, you have another assessment again. You have a period of time to finish marking. You upload the marks. So when it comes to the final year, it's a accumulation of all of these things from year 1 to year 2, all the internal assessments, so that the final exam does not become as it were a firing squad.
I appreciate that because we do that in the university with the IAs, and you dare not miss an IA.
Exactly. So I think that if we pick that up and then make it a a standard practice for all the institutions, I believe that examination malpractice will be a thing of the past. Besides, I think that we should also have periodic interactions with our students. We have gone a step further into holding stakeholder engagements with people who are not necessarily teaching, but also who have a stake in examinations, if you want. And we've met with some chiefs, and all of them have expressed what they think can be done, where they think the blame should go, the blame goes. Some of them have told us, hey, we are not comfortable with the way your staff behave when they come to us. We are not comfortable with their conduct when they are with us. And in fact, that was for us good feedback. So we have brought back that feedback. We're going to hold a seminar where we are going to let the staff understand what people's perception is about them, what they do that is unacceptable, and what we think going forward they should be doing. And of course, anybody who breaches any of these, the kind of consequences that will await them. So if we all get together and have these discussions, we in WAEC, parents on their own, the teaching service, we, I think, will be able to get to a point where examination will no longer be a fearful thing, but something you can walk into easily.
Absolutely. I'll give you a word also for your staff who are diligently working. I mean, it's not all just gloom with malpractices and all of that.
Yes, to our colleagues who are hardworking. In the last week, we have had to work long hours to be able to release the BECE results. And when it comes to examinations, it comes to the peak of it, we have no weekends. Everybody comes to us. You come to the office on a Saturday, on a Sunday, the whole compound is packed. Yeah, it's full because people are there to work. And we work those long hours in order to meet targets and also to help people, to move on with their education. So I would want to say a big thank you to the staff of the council who have exerted themselves, who have worked long hours, and who, in a way, with apologies, have been self-motivated to keep working. We thank them all very much. And our prayer is that even those who are on the field